Greetings in the precious and matchless name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. It's an honor and a privilege for me to speak a few words about a topic that we seldom talk about in the community, and that is divorce. The subtopic that is assigned to me is reasons for divorce. Now, divorce is a universally prevalent phenomenon. It's a multifaceted problem that we face among couples worldwide, regardless of the ethnicity. I've had the privilege of working with the South Asian population, predominantly the Indian immigrants in the United States, the South Indian immigrants in the United States, for over 30 years. So instead of going into a universal statistical extrapolation of the reasons for divorce, I really want to focus on what I have seen, what I have experienced with the people that I usually interact with. I want to say that we have seen a very low percentage of divorces in the community that I represent. And I thank God for that. But at the same time, being a proactive community is much more desirable than being reactive. So, our desire through speaking about the reasons for divorce is to look at them proactively and to prevent such from happening in our own community, in our families, in our individual lives. One of the biggest reasons, the most prominent reasons that I have seen as a cause for divorce is communication problems. It is a universal phenomenon, um, regardless of religion, regardless of ethnicity. But at the same time, we need to understand that communication is key for a healthy relationship. Effective communication fosters a healthy relationship. Unfortunately, what we have seen is that breakage of communication in families causes divorces. Lack of active listening, frequent arguments, and emotional withdrawal are three major sub reasons that I've seen in the communication issues. Lack of active listening. Now, many of us tend to be selective in our hearing, mainly because of the fact that we have things that we want to hear, and also many times we are using our lack of active listening as a means of drowning some of the noises that we have in our lives that possibly are causing us emotional pain. So, for someone who had a very stressful work day, um, the issues from home are not something that he or she wants to listen to. So, when people do not actively listen to the conversation that is brought forth by the other partner, that causes breakdown in relationship. And that actually steps to the next level: frequent arguments. Every discussion, every conversation continues to become an argument, and every argument ends up in a fight. Just the same way as when you have demands on your life that are more than the resources that you have stress that you're not able to manage. And unmanaged stress causes anger, and unmanaged anger causes aggression. So, the same way, conversations that are not productive or actively engaged in causes arguments. And those arguments end up primarily in fights. In order to avoid a fight, usually when we have a communication issue in a relationship, what people do is to withdraw physically and more so emotionally. belittling a partner in front of the other, negative communication, and also withdrawing from an active conversation are two major catalysts for breakage in relationship. And to rebuild the distance between the couples, or to recreate the relationship by reducing the distance, many times becomes a very difficult task to achieve. So communication seems to be the biggest culprit in the breakage of relationships. Another thing that I have been noticing these days is infidelity. A lot of the families these days who file for divorce file with irreconcilable differences as a reason. And that's mainly because of the fact that that's the easiest way of escape from a legal standpoint. But when you go down to the deepest areas of what caused the strain in the relationship, other than communication issues, one major area that we are finding these days is infidelity, loss of trust, emotional pain, and decreased intimacy have been an overarching component in the breakage of relationship. When there is a third person or a fourth person or two or more people involved in a relationship outside of the privacy of the marriage, extramarital relationships, either in the digital sense, or the emotional sense, or the physical sense, because we live in a digital world, and more so, we have digital communication, lack of transparency that we are seeing. And once that loss of trust is there, that causes deep rooted emotional pain that makes a relationship to have decreased intimacy. Because when there is no trust, when the safety and the security and the trust is breached, what basically happens is that there is decreased intimacy, and that causes a major strain in the relationship. So the second area that I have seen where a lot of people have been losing their relationship or losing the strength of the relationship is infidelity. And another reason that I have seen in many of my marriage counseling sessions that I've had is financial issues. Financial stress is a major contributor to strains in relationship. Differences in spending habits, um, different understanding of financial goals, and also economic pressures can strain a relationship. High levels of debt, disagreements on what to be spent on, and then income disparities. Because back in those days, in the primarily or predominantly arranged marriage system, the husband was a breadwinner and the wife was a homemaker. And the husband basically ruled the family with an iron fist, primarily because of the fact that he was the one who was bringing in the money. But financial independence has become the norm of today's relationship. And once there has been more financial independence, that causes more strain. And also, that causes friction with regards to one possibly being a spender and the other being a saver. And if the partners did not decide on who is going to manage the finances, how they're going to manage it, how collectively they're going to manage it, lack of transparency in the financial areas, and sometimes a stress and a concern and a pressure that is beyond their control causes a strain and a breakage in relationship. Now, lack of compatibility is another area that we have seen. Now, again, lack of compatibility is something that we do not think should be an issue that people should be facing after they get married. But unfortunately, that is a major area of breakage in relationship, because compatibility in faith, compatibility in physical structure, compatibility in educational social backgrounds, all those things are usually checked, and especially in an arranged or assisted marriage system, because of the fact that there are external forces like parents and extended families who will be involved in the choice process. So there is more compatibility between the spouses in such a structure or a system. However, even after marriage, we see that there are compatibility changes that take place over time. People evolve. Their growth phase differs. One may grow exponentially higher than the other. Educational statuses change. There are so many people who came after marrying a registered nurse, and the husband was a very a regular earning employee, and then the wife came as a nurse, but then the wife became a nurse practitioner or became a educator here. So there is a tremendous disparity in the educational and the social status that actually took place after the marriage, after the wedding took place, leading to a lack of common shared interests and goals. And that actually leads to unresolved conflicts, because avoidance and escapism becomes the norm of the day to prevent a problem. But unresolved, persistent conflicts highlight fundamental differences that just comes out in a very explosive way. And when people evolve, when people change, there is also a lack of emotional support, because the partner is unable to emotionally support. The ego gets in the way of supporting each other. So, a change in the social status has also caused the strain in marriage relationship. Another area that I have frequently being seen is substance abuse. There used to be social drinking as a problem in many communities or many families, but now the use or the excessive use of alcohol and the experimentation, as well as the use and the abuse of drugs and other substances, maybe extensive dependence on painkillers, have caused trust issues, have caused financial problems, and also have caused emotional and physical abuse in relationships. Trust issues because of the fact that people do it hiding behind the back of the other partner. And also the financial wherewithal, the financial bearings of the family gets eroded very quickly because of the fact that they're spending too much money on this medicine or the drug or alcohol or whatever that they resort to. And then finally, what happens is there is also emotional and physical abuse. That actually brings me to the next cause that we see: domestic violence. Domestic violence has been an age old problem. Many people uh, continue to be in a relationship primarily because of the fact that they did not want others to know or the children to know. But now, with more independence for each other, financial, social, religious independence that people have, they come out in the open with regards to physical, emotional, and sexual or psychological abuse that takes place. Once that abuse takes place, then the fear and the trauma of the abuse, the isolation that is caused because of the abuse, uh, causes relationships to strained to a point where they cannot build it back. Sometimes, out of the need for protection, people go into legal battles, maybe an order of protection, maybe a police case, just to get some kind of support. But at the same time, the trust is broken. Fear has crept into the relationship. And once the trust is broken and fear has crept into that relationship, unfortunately, that causes strain in the relationship. And then there is emotional and also physical isolation that takes place. And another thing is unmet expectations. People go into relationships with a lot of fantasies. Role expectations differ from one from the other. Maybe the social media has given us a different expectation with regards to the way in which life should be dealt with. Roles may have changed drastically because somebody may have been working as a line level worker but moved up in the ladder of the organization, is now an administrator. That actually causes strain in the relationship because of the fact that the time and the effort that they are able to put into the family is much less compared to the other. So role expectations change, and then emotional needs are not met. Doctors working odd hours, the physical exhaustion, the emotional exhaustion cause them not to be able to meet the emotional and the physical needs of the other. Unmet expectations. Life goals change. Unmet expectations. So, communication, infidelity, unmet expectations, domestic violence, role changes issues, all these, along with financial issues, have caused marriages to crumble. Divorce is a painful and also a very challenging experience. Understanding these common causes can help us look at them and say, what can I do to proactively avoid them? What can I do to be financially sound, but at the same time, transparent with each other in our relationship? What can I do to make sure that digitally, emotionally, and physically, I am diligent in ensuring that there is no infidelity in the relationship, opening up our entire life in front of the other? What can I do to make sure that we have open communications with each other, not selective? And then discuss the goals and the expectations with each other. All those things can prevent a divorce from taking place. So let these reasons be in our mind as we deal with our own challenges as well as the challenges of the extended families that we are part of, and also the churches and the communities that we are part of. May no marriage break. May we do everything possible to prevent a marriage from breaking up. God bless you.